Alright, guys. So today I have a Darklord Agents kind of combo tutorial, kind of explaining what we're doing. So, in the Agents archetype Discord, there's a guy named Adrian who discovered the that the Judy by itself can bridge into specifically Master Flare Hyperion, which then can send the Venus to copy its name and effect, so you get to do all the Shine Ball shenanigans. So I went further and added Christo to his combo, and I also figured out that Agents, as its normal 2-card combo with only 2 Shine Balls, can bridge back into Dark Lord as well, although the end board is not as good, but it's still, like, decent, because it still gets you into Evening Star to get First Darklord and do all the shenanigans with those. So, this is currently what I have for the main deck. Definitely is going to change because I frankly hate having only 5 hand traps in here. Even if Darklord by itself is a really good board breaking archetype in a sense, since this could just be a destroy everything they control. But this is where we're at currently. So, I was going to show some, try and show off like the 1-card combo with the Judy, and then try to show the 2-card combo with Agents. So let's try and do that. So first I'm going to show you this fake hand here. The normal de Judy. Get out Google it. In fact, to use the tokens. Or to summon, not use them. And then use one of the tokens and Google it to make Moon. And then always go Chain Link 1 Google it here because it's the better effect to have here, which will add a Dark Lord card. And then Chain Link 2 Moon to send Majesty or Hyperion. And then Google it is going to add Dark Lord Dance. And then you just immediately go and use it to summon Evening Star using a token and the Google it engrave. You use effective Evening Star to set Banishment, which I have all 3 in my hand in this test hand, so which is why it's not shown up here. And the Sanctified or the other trap, it doesn't really matter, but I just think Sanctified's better. I also play Enchantment because it's a change of heart during their turn. Why wouldn't you use something like that? That's pretty good, especially when a lot of things can be targeted at this moment. So normally this would be a banishment, but it's okay. It just means that banishment can add the enchantment. So this way it will still be engraved, so you can see it's still showing the exact same combo line. In that sense. Okay, so then we'll use the Moon and the Judy to make Parshath. And then Parshath will just discard another banishment to add Uranus. And then we'll use the Dark Lord Contact to make the Judy again, or to summon it. We'll use Majesty to banish the Moon. Then make Rahamu using the Parshath and the Judy. Alright, and then we'll use the Rahamu's effect to immediately normal summon the Uranus, choosing not to tribute anything. So they can let you do that with a Dark Fairy. As you can see, this prefers while it's link summon on the field. Normal summon a level 5 or higher without tributing. And then during the main phase, quick effect immediately after normal summon a level 5 or higher dark. So it allows you to use this applied effect and then the activated effect to do. It works together. Pretty nice. Because then it lets you go into Uranus, which lets you send a mood from deck to grave, Earth from deck to grave. So now it copies its level, and then you can go into Majesty Flare. I just put it in the zone on accident. Be careful not to do that. Even though it technically doesn't matter, it's always be careful. Look at your link zones. Because now I'm forced to use the... Since Condemned Dark Lord says... Oh, no, that was the... Which one was the one set to affect monsters? I don't remember which one said to affect monsters. Oh, it's the Rahamu. Be careful, because Rahamu cannot use his Shine Balls to summon it. But then we go into Condemned Dark Lord. We use the effect, discarding another banishment, why not? To send... It doesn't have to be Morningstar. It doesn't technically matter, since there's no way to reborn these, but I always send Morningstar from deck to grave in this case, because it allows you to make the first Dark Lord off of Evening Star here, with the ability to use its effect on summon to destroy all cards your opponent controls. So that's what I slightly messed up, which is why the Shine Ball is going to stay here. It would have normally been like adding or ending on a Herald of Mirage Light as well. But obviously I'd rather not use the Majesty or Master Flare here. So just be careful of that. And then, since I have 4 Dark Fairies in the graveyard, I could technically use the Dejuti to add back one of the banishments, so I have follow for next turn. But it also means I'm forced to banish the Majesty, so that's always like a choice there if you want to do that, want to add follow-up for Darklord or not. You don't have to, especially if you don't want to banish the Majesty. It just means you have follow, but in this case, technically, because it's Sacred Water, why not? There's no reason to... There is a reason to not use it. So, in that case, you would just pass turn here, use this card's effect to gain life, and the copy of this, and then draw phase, and then you can just... You can use this effect whenever. It's a quick effect at any point. However, the first Darklord is only during the main phase to summon a fairy from your hand to graveyard, so be wary of that, at least. So then, once I do something in the main phase, then you could activate this, targeting the Darklord Dance to fuse with it. Oh wait, never mind. Take that back. Rahumu was in my grave. I completely forgot about that. So you're not forced to be worried about banishing Majesty, but you can banish a Uranus at this point because you've already used both engines. And then because on summon I use Morningstar, destroy everything. And then now you've got the send 2 of copies for the targets for the send of Sanctified, and another target for the send for this. So it's really good. So let me now show you how the agents can bridge back into them. Let's just put... It doesn't matter what these are, I just gotta make sure I have at least 2 of the agent cards that are correct, as long as it's Earth and Neptune, or Earth and Venus. It's no big deal. So if you're familiar with the agents combo line, you'll always want to make sure that once Earth has been normal summoned, you have access to both Neptune and Venus with the ability to get it onto the field. Which, as long as it's in hand or grave, it can get on the field with Neptune's effect, which is all you need, so you're good there. And then we're going to use Venus to summon only 2 Shine Balls, because you'll see why once I bridge into Darklord. So then, normally you would have had a third, if you're playing Pure Agents, you would have had a 3rd Shine Ball, which you use to link it to Parshath here instead of the Venus. But I'm going to use the Venus instead, and again, you'll see why. So then we'll Majesty to bring out, or banish Neptune to bring out Majesty, and then I add the Sanctuary in the Sky with Neptune. And then now, since we have Sanctuary in the Sky, we can use Parshath's effect to add a fairy monster instead, since it's on field now. Otherwise, we would have had to add a card that would mention the field spell. So we're going to go ahead and use that now to add Dejuti. And then we'll make Master Flare. We do have to do it in this order because now Parshath triggers because I summoned a fairy monster. Or because my fairy monsters left the field, which was me making Master Flare. So now we'll banish, use the Parshath effect, banishing the Shine Ball for cost to summon Dejuti. And now Dejuti will summon Google it. And now, because we have 2 unoccupied zones, now we can use the Googlet's effects, and it does say it has to be 2. It has to be 2 tokens, not just up to 2. Which is why I didn't use a 3rd Shine Ball and instead used Venus for its link material for Parshath. Because otherwise, I wouldn't be able to activate this effect. The zones would have been clogged. So now we just do basically standard combo line. Googlet token. Use Googlet to add Dance. Dance using token and Googlet engrave. Evening Star, saying Sanctified and Banishment. So in this case, technically you don't have to go on the Darklord Contact, but if you want the trap effect instead. But for combo's sake, I'm gonna grab out the Contact. In this case, still send that thing. You don't have to use a Rahumu effect ever, or you don't have to summon a Rahumu. It's just always it's basically there to facilitate agents, or to facilitate Darklord bridging into agents. So otherwise, you can just use the de jure and Condemned to make Herald of Mirage Light, and then Contact. If you really want to just like have something extra, you could always just Contact. But because I just chose not to, I didn't have it in this combo line, which is why I didn't do it. Otherwise, if you were going to do the standard combo line I just showed, you would add the trap there instead. It's always better to add the trap there if you're doing this combo line. And then, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Darklords in Grave, I can technically use this effect to add back the Banishes for follow for next turn. However, if I do that, I am forced to use Majesty Hyperion to summon a First Darklord. So we will choose not to do that. We'll pretend like this is a trap and pass turn. And then draw phase. You could use this now, but it's better to just wait since the effect of this card is main phase only. And you'll see why I'm saying that in a second here, but then you can just, now once they start main phase wide, once they've done something that you want to actually like disrupt, then you can use the Condemned, the de jure, and Morningstar to summon First Darklord, and then a Darklord's effect on summon, because you use the Morningstar as part of its material, destroy everything they control. And then now you have 2 possible things to send for Sanctified and 1 for the other Trap Darklord enchantment if I had set it. So it shows, yeah, so like they both bridge pretty well into each other, and I like that. And since I don't need 3 Shine Balls, that's why I have only 2 in the deck. And now let's see if I can show how you can do both. So unfortunately, you do have to have both engines in your hand to be able to use Christia, because otherwise you're forced to use your Parshath ad. Instead of using on Christia, you would have to use it on the Judy or Uranus. But let's just say, or no, let's not cheat here. I'm gonna see if I can show a test hand that gets into it. Yeah, this. Okay, it's in my opening hand, but I want to show where it's not already there. Okay, this hand is just a brick hand, so ignore that. As you can see, it's because it's agents, it's still very bricky, so just don't worry about it. Okay, perfect. So this hand will show exactly what I was talking about. No, you do the... No, you do agents here. And you don't have to worry about the Shine Ball being in my hand. Combo still happens. So as you saw before, it's the exact same combo line. Then, so now in this case, we'll add Christia with Parshath instead of the Judy, since we already got 2. And then we'll trigger Parshath, sending Shine Balls, summoning the Judy instead of Christia, because otherwise we can't go full combo with Darklord. And also because the Vidolium can also be used as material for this, I prefer not to still. It's because it allows you to possibly OTK with the Power Patron cards in the deck earlier, or easier. So same standard sets. In this case, I'm just going to add the trap because it doesn't really matter. Because I'm going to summon Christia anyway. Alright. Sorry, these 2 to make it. So, like, if you've seen, you don't, or as you're about to see. So, because I have Christia, you're just going to do this in draw phase. Since they, unless they're familiar with Darklord, they probably don't know you're about to do the Christia line. Or sorry, you do still have to wait till main phase, my bad. But frankly, if they get one special summon, it really doesn't matter. They're still got to deal with Christia, a quick effect banish, can't be targeted, or none of your figures can be targeted, spell trap negate, and two really good Darklord spell or Darklord traps. But yeah, unfortunately, you do have to see both engines to be able to go into Christia, but I think it happens often enough, at least from the test hands I've done, that it warrants playing it in the main deck even. Although I might have to take it out just because I want to improve the consistency as much as possible. But yeah, that shows what you could potentially do. There's obviously way more to explore with this, as you can see by the fact that it's only 9 extra deck cards currently, and then I have a bunch of experimental ones in the side here. And so I probably will still play a third Shine Ball later. It's just right now I want to make sure I want to know how consistent the combo can be, especially with Christia, which is why it's here. Same thing with Destruction of Venus. I just don't. It's only good if you're doing pure agent combo, so it's probably not going to be played at all, because I'd rather be able to facilitate both every time. And then this one I've only thought about because it's a Dark Tuner level 2 fairy. I way more needed to experiment with this, but I think it is a possible thing you can do with it. I also got Blackwing Assault Dragon in here because it requires a tuner synchro here and a non-tuner, so I can literally just like summon Amritara and maybe a Shine Ball. That's probably the best way to get into that. Which is why Amritara and Vanadium Reframing are here. These will probably, definitely more than likely, I'm going to put these back in. It's just right now I'm trying to test a combo only. I mean, this is only here because it could be a quick effect Book of Moon during the opponent's turn off of the Master Flare. But technically it shouldn't be in here, but for that reason I'm keeping it in there. Probably shoot. I did not mean to delete Cupid Pitch there. But, yeah. Which is so, like, Amritara and Cupid Pitch are really good, which is why I'm there. The only problem is that I don't want to main deck another brick. So which is why I don't have it currently in the list, but I'm probably going to keep it there because it's really good. Trisukta is me experimenting a bit. I haven't really tried it yet, but it could let you reborn a level 2 tuner, which potentially lets you do things with kill 2 back-to-back. Because it doesn't... You're not forced to only use tuners for back-to-back. It just says a tuner and a synchro monster. So as long as you have at least one tuner, which is Trisukta, and whatever tuner it sends, then you could use that plus that tuner plus a mystical Shine Ball, and it's... Oh, never mind, that's not how that works. But there is... You can do, like, mystical... Where is it? Sorry. You can use Earth plus Amritara to make this. And Cupid Pitch plus the Judy. There are ways to get those on the field at the same time, but again, more experimentation needed because I don't want to have to forcibly go out into this, because all it is to prevent Kill 2 from doing stuff, and maybe Doom Z potentially, and then any other Xyz-based deck that would want their levels not changed at all. So that's why it's in the experimental side deck right now. But there actually are ways to get into it, which is why it's here. Same thing with Arms of Genix Return 0, which is part of the why this is here. I probably won't play this because, frankly, I don't think it would be needed anyway. And plus, it would probably be way too hard to get into because of the fact that it says Dark Tuner. And the only inherent Dark Tuner is Uranus. And I'd rather use Uranus to make a Master Flare. Because, frankly, it's only going to be like 2 negates off of this anyway, so there's really no point. And then this is Medinium Prime Heart is only in here because it makes the OTK line a little bit easier. But probably not going to play, or if I am, it's going to be in the side deck. But you really don't need to, because these Darklord fusions are going to be really high, alongside the Master Flare, which is already really high. And potentially a Morningstar if you somehow summon it. Or if you choose to summon it. You shouldn't, but you could. And then Ixchel's only here because it lets you draw 2 potentially. which comes up a lot more often from the testing I've done, which is also why the Google it's at 2 here, but also because the other reason it's at 2 is because the usually only summons from deck, it doesn't summon from hand, so if I see this in hand, then the combo is immediately over. But yeah, that's what we're experimenting with. It definitely seems like it could be good, but only because the non-engine is so low that maybe not. But at the same time, the Darklord engine is really good at like board breaking and setting up something, so there is definitely potential. But then, of course, Agents is just so lackluster that it's probably just not worth it. But because we're fun, we try to do funny things, funny combo lines, and we try to be competitive at the same time. So we'll see. But this is where we're currently at. If you want to help us or you have ideas that we have missed somehow, then please contact either me on Discord or join the Agents Discord and possibly help us. We'll appreciate it so much. Thank you, and have a good one.